Now, without further ado, Patricia, you are the first victim. I,
Yes,
I know you haven't had the time to review everything, but at least you know the two, three main points
yes.
during the day.
Key points. Actually, one of the speaker, Elena, made it very easy for me
Sorry,
to
just to say, we
summarize.
are, we are the group on digital and
Yes.
technological transition.
So important for the digital and technological transition to address the three different types of capital, the financial, the social, the knowledge capital, and the networking. I think we devoted quite some time for the funding, for the investment barriers. So public funding mechanisms sometimes are a bit too complex or misaligned with the local needs. It might be difficult for entrepreneurs, for small municipalities to access them, not only because of the bureaucratic barriers, but also because of the language that is used. Sometimes they don't recognize themselves as even as beneficiaries of these funding opportunities. So we have discussed different cascade funding, angels based, or different models. But one important remark is that we have to make public funding allowed to fail, so avoid the punitive actions for innovation. This needs to be a clear message that innovation needs to be open for failure, simplified, and design multi-annual funding schemes that can support long-term processes. The second has been about skills, not only about the digital skill, which is obvious for the topic of this group, but also other related skills such as access to the funding. So we explore some opportunities, develop tailored digital literacy, different programs, entrepreneur tools, incubators, technical support, not only for the entrepreneurs and for the young people, but also for everybody that is in the rural area, including, for instance, the municipalities that also struggle sometimes with the new digital tools or with digital opportunities in the digital transition. Third, around the services that are available in the local area when it comes to digital infrastructure, connectivity. We know that rural areas are still a bit lagging behind when it comes to high-speed broadband, etc. So this needs to be prioritized, support building the digital infrastructure of applicable things also for the municipalities, for local entrepreneurs. We have seen also the role of nomads coming there, so really to make this digital connectivity a reality. And then we've been discussing about the social capital, the connections about the actors. Sometimes there's a weak collaboration between the different rural stakeholders that need to be bring together to find the digital solutions. And here we discuss it about all about the role of intermediaries to activate the ecosystem, to build trust, to build the partnership, the need of cross-sector partnership, of networking opportunities, of acknowledging success, also to match the expectations of young people, of newcomers to stay. Otherwise, if there is no job opportunities that attract them, no higher education, there is no societal capital left behind in the rural areas to undertake the efforts. So things such as early age education and entrepreneurship in rural areas, innovation centers, and well, the many examples that we have seen in plenary of hubs, labs, really bringing people together and making sure that those at the stay have the connections and the ecosystem support. I
Wow,
hope.
thank you very much, Patricia. I think you did more than I expected in the little time. I think important message. Probably some there would be same issues coming up from the other groups. I'm pretty sure. Important one and what I take throughout all these topics is the issue of breaking the silos, bringing the different actors together, speak the same language. So there has to be someone that is kind of that intermediary, that connector of with the different actors, either for funding, connecting at EU or national level, connecting with bank, connecting with university, connecting with the local people. There has to be that intermediate can speak the different languages, not that these other actors talk about. Good. And then again, it was flagged by the keynote speaker we had in the morning, the territorial dimension. Innovation happen in places that enable to work, but enable to live as well, the people that are the innovators. So we cannot have this angle on the side. Thanks a lot. Now let's move to the ecological transition. Pascal, Is,
Thank
is
you.
there, is there any additional point or specific points that were flagged in your discussion?
Thank you, Enrique. Firstly, I would like to thank the participants and the speakers. So we had three speakers, three examples. The Badebel Village Living Lab supporting innovation in France, Innovation Lab for Forest-Based Bioeconomy in Spain, as well the Dorfuni initiative, which is a collaboration between universities and people. So thank you for that, because it brought some interesting elements. So among the key points, which go for some of them in the direction that Patricia presented, but in another word, we have heard this morning this multi-actors approach, which is about working between the different stakeholders, not only all of them. It depends also of the topic we are covering, but this is something which brings to innovation and creativity. And to illustrate that, that's what I just said, it's the initiative from the Dorfuni between research and users, also to improve the access to research by users, by local people. So this is an important point. Linked to this multi-actor approach, I will put into this package also all this discussion we had between private and public landowners on forest domain, which is important to be considered. Firstly, society is, I would say, has to be involved in paying for ecosystem services, but also the importance is to involve private owners, which are more located in, let's say, in urban areas, and to try to bring them in the overall process. It's not always easy, so we have also to find a way to put all these people together, and to cut the silos between the different those different actors. Another point is that we have heard about there are several instruments which are supporting innovation, and we have talked about living labs, etc. So there are a lot of things to share between us. We have heard this morning, but also in our group. So this is another important point. Another point that has been mentioned, not discussed, but on the mirror, is a lack of access to technologies and good infrastructures to manage some ecological transition issues. So this remains important. We heard this morning that we have to go beyond the science and technology innovation, but it remains important. So not to forget that it's also about that. And the two last point I wanted to mention is that globally speaking, there is a weakness of local governance. One example that has been mentioned, it's about the capacity for local communities to, I would say, to develop electricity grid. So they have not the resources to, I would say, to have their autonomy. So it remains at regional and national level managed. And the last point I wanted to mention, it's about awareness, involvement of young people, involvement, the role that schools can play also to change the mind of the society on the ecological transition issues.
Thank you very much, Pascale. New points from the green angle. Let's move to the social and just transition. Urszula, is there additional points or specific points to your topic you would like to share?
Yes, well, not surprisingly for this group on social and just transition, our discussion was very much revolving around the people, and a lot of points where people in two, I think at least two important reasons. One is because we are always trying to deal with depopulation, so we're trying to keep people, especially young people, in rural areas, and secondly, because very often innovation starts with people. They are very often the triggers of innovation. So we had a whole series of points from the very interesting examples we had, how to make the ownership of the local community, how to get the people to feel that the innovative activities, even around arts and culture, which are not typically very acceptable, or people in rural areas sometimes feel they're excluded, but there are ways to make them feel that they can be involved. the importance of bringing people together physically, young people especially, not of course all the online tools, the digital tools are useful, but there are projects that demonstrate how important it is to allow people to actually meet physically. And also there was a very interesting example given of involving young people on a broader range in the national and European rural youth parliaments. So that was an example. We also had a discussion about governance and public authorities, which can be resistant to innovation. Can for different reasons. There can be those silo mentality. There can be this concern about spending money on something that is not necessarily going to succeed. But there can also be issues with the institutional capacity of small local governments, which prevent them from supporting innovation. But there can be ways to overcome that. Local action groups can play an important role. So the importance is to feel the mandate that the authorities, even at the national level, should feel the mandate coming from the grassroots, from the communities. The importance is also to have a strong vision and to have support of the hierarchy and to build transparent and flexible structures. We touched a little bit on the different funding sources. Of course, we had this nice example in plenary about EIP AGRI. But there should be more resources for social entrepreneurs and for intermediary activities and for capacity building, not for just the projects. As I understand, these were the key points.
Thank you very much, Urszula. I hope everybody felt more or less reflected the main points discussed during the groups. As you can see, there are a lot of challenges. I hope you learn from each other on what are challenges you might face, or you see yourself reflected there, and also on the solutions. Some of them practical solutions to be done at local level. Some others probably for colleagues working at policy level to see how to improve so that these solutions can as well be put in place. So I hope there is a mix of challenges, mix of solutions that are relevant for different types of actors. So I hope you can extract something useful. Definitely we do. And in order to have the final reflection from participants' point of view, because it was pretty much our team reflecting and reporting back, we have asked Edina Ocsko, who is the vice chair of the Rural Pact Coordination Group, and as well the coordinator of the Smart Villages Network Services, to listen to the whole day and come up with some reflections on, okay, what are the main points we can as well extract from the whole, for a full day working on place-based rural innovation. So Edina, what would you like to share?
Thanks a lot, firstly, for the opportunity to listen to this very interesting discussion and event. Of course, I have to stress at the beginning that it's always very difficult to pick just a few messages from such an intense amount of information. I try to pull together a few slides because I always think it might be slightly easier to follow. So if you don't mind, I'm sharing quickly those. And I try to be as quick as possible because I'm aware that people are tired. So just as Enrique already said, I represent the Smart Village Network and the services, which is also run by E40 Europe, our company. And based on this, our work is mostly focused on smart villages in the past years. And we are also a member of the Rural Pact Coordination Group. But why I'm saying this, because I have to say that during the whole day, out of my commitment or role, I'm kind of listening from the local initiative and local communities perspective. So this is what I would like to share with you, which might not reflect all the perspectives that have been discussed today. So sorry if not everything is actually covered. So I summarized the key messages for me and some reflections on what I heard myself today under 5 points. So one is the critical role of funding, which we know, and we always stress this, but it's ever more important, I think, in the preparation for the post-27 period. Enrique already mentioned, and this was one of the key messages for me, that innovation needs to be place-based. I will come back to all these points. We really need to make sure that there is an impact at the local level, which is often not that obvious as it may sound. And we need to follow up on these impacts. So sometimes there is the target, there is the aim, the stated aim and the goal, but sometimes we don't fully understand what actually is happening with rural communities through these programs and projects. And the final one are the key factors I want to highlight that I picked up as being critical enabling factors for innovation, especially capacity building, local strategies, the relevant resources, both human and financial, and flexibility. So let me briefly elaborate on these points. Just to come back to the very first poll that was run by the RPSO. So what you consider, which is kind of probably the expectations towards this event as the key factors, which are the most important challenges that we would like to address in the context of social innovation or rural innovation and social innovation as well, actually. And the two, as you remember, came up on top was the administrative burden, which often stands in the way for rural areas to take part in rural innovation programs and projects. And of course, we need to talk about the funding availability and how far local communities and rural communities access those for innovative ideas, to realize innovative ideas. And as I said, I think these are particularly important because all of us have to be aware that we can influence possibly rural development policy, that it goes into a direction that these barriers are broken down more, or these challenges are broken down more. So when it comes, so one of the key messages I took away, and I think it came really from the OECD presentation of Eduardo, that rural innovation needs to be place-based. And I think this is very, very important, especially from a local community perspective. To start with what we also stated in the Rural Pact Declaration recently, that we have to look at rural communities not just as sources of challenges, but of course mostly as opportunities. And the two critical topics that came up are climate and social. And of course, digital is there, but as long as it supports mostly the others as a tool. Now, one key message from the opening keynote presentation is that innovation is often invisible. While it's there in rural communities, it's visible. And I really like this 3V's approach of Eduardo, that we need to work together to make them visible, viable, and valued. And I think all these are keywords that we should remember from this event, because all are equally important. The key statement that we have to focus on the local community level, and we have to put more emphasis on that. And of course, it raises the question what we mean by innovation. And I like what Rita was saying in the context of Austria, that it's always triggered somehow by a burning need, that the local community need to change something, and this important challenge is to be addressed are somehow the measuring reference for these things. So this is just the first message. Then the second message is really like how we make sure that we not only target, but also actually reach and have an impact at the local community and stakeholder level. A positive side is that we see many relevant EU programs as presented by Ariane, and also the regional different programs at EU level, which you heard today, that target innovation. But I also feel that we need to critically reflect on how far they actually reach the very local community level. And of course, sometimes it raises the question what we mean by local, and I don't plan to give an answer. That's why versus is kind of in an inverted comma, because it's not a conflict, but it's something we need to consider, that sometimes for some people, regional is not necessarily the local level, but the local community level is more at the local level, which kind of, for me, raises the importance of the connection between regional priorities and local community priorities, which are not always fully harmonized. This is what we need to think about when we think about regional programs, for instance, and many of those we heard today. Of course, the multi-actor approach was mentioned in many contexts today, but I also have to stress that I really feel that we need to take this seriously. Often communities, local communities, are just indirect beneficiaries of many, many projects. And I think although capacity is not there, it's not a reason to exclude them from these projects, but actually a reason to include them. So they should be increasingly made as direct partners. Even in large projects, I believe they can be direct partners. In that sense, we need to discuss what we mean by when we say that many local actors are benefiting from these big projects and programs, like, are they used as being examples, pilot sites, or actually they directly get the funding? And sometimes Horizon statistics, for instance, show that the local NGO and local government participation compared to other bigger, more capacity, with more powerful players, are actually limited. And I really appreciate when I hear examples like the RISE project that really goes to the very local level and to address these global challenges. And as we heard from the presentation, the quote is from there, that rural communities don't want just externals to come and tell them the knowledge, but they really want to be embedded in the whole process. So this is the second message. The third message is that to make this happen, I think we actually really need to follow up what we achieve in terms of engagement. So it's very good that the target is there, the philosophy is there, but whether we actually are reaching it, I think we all need to critically reflect on whatever we do. So we need to find the right innovation indicators. I found it interesting from the initial presentation that patents were mentioned, for instance, but we also heard that they have to be used with caution. Also, Eduardo mentioned this. I somehow quoted some of the projects, comments from the chat. There were some very interesting discussions going on, like whether patents are relevant or how we should follow up the actual indicators in the CAP strategic plan, which are there. Will they be actually realized? And the number of rural communities that are directly benefiting from these projects, I think, need to be followed up. And as we heard today many times, that we need to really focus on the long-term sustainability and think like, what are the impacts beyond 2 years of projects and initiatives that we are doing. And I have to say that even in the future context of rural development policy, this is one of the recommendations, that we tag much more like what is actually the spending, where the funding and the EU spending goes. Is it actually going to rural areas, which is often not tagged, and is it actually going to local communities? I think we need to reflect on that jointly and critically. And again, a quote, not doing just something for the wow effect, but really for long-term sustainability is a critical issue here. And I'm almost coming to the end with the final 2 messages. So one is the enabling factors that came up throughout this discussion. And again, I stole these graphics from Rita because I like it a lot, that we have to look at this innovation framework as kind of a empty canvas, a blank canvas, because that leaves much more flexibility than we normally have. So firstly, the key factors that came up today is, of course, to strengthen the local capacity. and the local social capital. This was mentioned in many, many presentations, so it's really, really good to hear. It's interesting that entrepreneurship came up quite a lot today. I mean, those stakeholders, the local businesses and entrepreneurs, and also the female entrepreneurs, of course, we have to pay attention to the gender balance. So capacity building, definitely. And then integrated approach, which is very important, that it's not just isolated projects. We often know that, but really that there are innovative local strategies, mini visions at the local level, that they go somewhere. And of course, it's connected to the rural innovation ecosystems thinking, like it was reflected again in many presentations. Resources, I won't mention again, it's both financial and human resources. And obviously the flexibility, I think you could guess that I will pick this quote that we should allow to fail. And it's this open-mindedness that really captured my attention, but it was mentioned already in the previous, the initial keynote presentation, that we need to tailor the regulatory innovation to this. And the final slide then is just to wrap it up. I think especially in the context of the future policy, we need to make a joint effort that these innovation frameworks are much more strengthened. And obviously what we are doing here and what we try to do in the Smart Village Network, networking is something that can definitely contribute to that. That's what we try to do, to bring rural communities directly into the innovation framework and make their voices heard in the policy making. And of course, I cannot avoid to highlight our joint declaration, which is very relevant in the Rural Pact context. And I think it has many, many important recommendations in all these contexts that we could highlight and work on together towards the future policy. So thanks a lot for the opportunity. I stop here.
Wow, thank you, Edina. A very good presentation. I think you highlighted very much important points that we can extract from today. I hope everyone find it very interesting. Now, to move on, we are almost closing, but we want to get your feedback about today's meeting. So my colleague Patricia will run a session to get your feedback quickly, 2 minutes, but it's important for us to keep improving these sessions. So Patricia.
Thank you, Enrique. Yes, indeed. Last effort we asked you before we tell next steps and wrap up. You have the link in the chat, or you might grab your phone and scan the QR code. These are for those of you who have already attended the RPSO events, are the typical questions we asked you. To what extent do you agree with this statement? One is you strongly disagree, and for you strongly agree. In what way this webinar on rural innovation has enabled you to exchange and learn from peers, discovering new, inspired, relevant projects, relevant practices. And then about the organization, how you found the overall structure of the agenda, moderation, exchanges. Also, prior to the webinar, we've been in touch with you regarding the updates, the confirmation, the expression of interest, etc. So please take a minute with the QR code, with the code, or with the link. And we keep this.
I think people
open.
are accessing. You have
Yes.
time. Let's move. I'd like to move now to present you what are the. So we need to stop sharing. And I would like to present you what are the next steps that we have in the Rural Pact. Hopefully you see the presentation, big screen. As we mentioned at the beginning, the presentations are going to be uploaded on the website in the next couple of days, and they're going to be circulated to you. So you will receive an email from us indicating that the presentations and the videos, most likely from the plenary and the presentations of the examples from the breakout groups, would be as well on the website. Probably as well, we will collect some of the important information, links that you share in the chat as well, and try to make them available through the website, so you can as well access them. We will share the participants list. Those of you that allowed us to put your information in the participants list to share it for networking, there you will get the contacts from most of the participants, I would say. And also we will work on a report about this event, so you will receive it, and that might take a bit more time. But anyways, you will receive an email when the report is available. In terms of upcoming events, this is the last good practice webinar of 2025. But we will have a big conference with 250 participants in September, with 200, as I said, 250 participants in Belgium, in a rural area in Belgium. The registration process is not open at the moment, because the process was concluded already, and we got more applications than places we have available. So it's very difficult to accept now new participants. But anyway, you would be able to follow the presentation, the conference online, the main plenary sessions, and there would be anyways in the event page all the presentations, the report available, so you can see what was discussed there. And we plan to have an upcoming policy lab. This is more a political event. The next one is on rural proofing. It's a key action as well on the rural action plan. And we plan to have as well another one likely in November about the post-2027 set of policy support in rural areas. Repeating, we have this Rural Pact community platform. You get a lot of benefits if you join it. You can submit commitment, join thematic community groups, connect with peers, receive invitations to our emails, to our events, receive information, etc. We have more than 1,700 members. You're very welcome to join. It's very easy to do. Maybe colleagues can put again the link in the chat. This is all. And you can scan the QR code. If you are not a member of the Rural Pact, or you are not in the platform, it's difficult. You will receive invitations or to our events, or as well the newsletter, or information to other relevant initiatives that might be coming up. So that's all from our side on this event. Personally, I would like to thank all the speakers and all the participants. You have to bear me with a lot of emails in the last week, so thank you very much for your patience. And to close the webinar, as you know, the Rural Pact and the vision is a joint initiative between DG AGRI and DG Regio. So they both DGs have of the European Commission. So they have been participating and listening to all the discussions we had today. So I would like to welcome Alexia, Rouby to really close this webinar. Alexia, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Enrique. And let me start by thanking all the speakers for sharing their experience today, the programs they are running, and what they learned from them. Big thanks as well to Edina for a very impressive wrap-up. It's hard to say anything after that. It's been super enlightening. The webinar itself for me has been very enriching and energizing, also to see what can be done where there is a will, including innovative ways to use our various EU programs for rural innovation, like the Austrian EIP Rural, for example, but also the clusters, the dedicated call on social economy. We could really see how the different actions under the Rural Action Plan come together, and it gave a lot of food for thoughts for the Rural Action Plan update, on which we are working now, and which we will discuss also at this Rural Pact conference coming up in September. I think it was very good that we chose to focus on innovation ecosystems today. The examples really demonstrated the importance of supporting the different layers of these innovation ecosystems, and in particular the key role of the territorial local level, the community level one, and the need for longer term funding and for predictability for this layer. On top of the shorter term projects, which we heard also should be collaborative and solving concrete problems coming from the ground. But all these lab accelerators, facilitators, or intermediaries, they play a very important role, including the leader groups play a very important role as well. And they need to be there in the long term and well connected to the local innovators and the actors, and bridging the local people with the other levels of governance or support. We heard also, and I think it's very important, the potential of rural, which needs to be promoted as it is much bigger than what may be perceived, and it's a sort of circle that we need to say this so to encourage better support, because there's a lot to gain for Europe in investing in these rural areas. This is strong in the OECD report on reinforcing rural resilience that came out on the 19th on Monday. So I encourage you to look at it as well. So for this invisibility, we're working at EU level on improving the metrics. As you could see from Arianna's presentation, the work that Simone Sasso is right now doing in the GRC is very interesting, and we hope to develop a better understanding. And we encourage also everyone to promote the rural successes, or show that rural innovation is happening. So to end, I'd like to thank all of you participants for your active participation in the discussion. Our group on digital was very lively. I hope all three were the same. The Rural Pact is really what you make of it, and so your engagement is always super important. And last but not least, a very big thanks to the Rural Pact Support Office, Enrique, who has been a very efficient lead of this organization, and very much behind the richness of what we have experienced today, but also all the facilitators, the rapporteurs, and all of those that are not visible but are making it work. Also, Veneta, all the comms team who are behind the scene and making sure that this works well. So thank you. I've been starving for an hour, so bon appetit, everyone. And thank you for again.